Right now, if you're standing on the shores of Fort Wilderness, you can see it. Just sitting there. Across the water, an island. Most guests boat right past it. They assume it's just land Disney never got around to developing. Maybe it's a maintenance area, maybe it's nothing at all. But the island was once a full Disney attraction, with exotic animals, tropical pathways, a shipwreck that sparked the imaginations of hundreds of thousands of children, and one of the most extensive collections of rare birds in the entire United States. Then one day, Disney stopped. Stopped the boats, stopped the staff, stopped everything. And for more than 25 years, the island has sat exactly where it has always been. Visible from the campground, visible from the monorail, visible from the contemporary resort, completely abandoned. That island was Discovery Island. And its story is far darker than Disney would ever want you to know.
I just made the swim.
What do you mean they surrounded the van? They're gonna take you to jail if I don't come out and turn myself in?
Oh, God.
If you've been following this series, you know that for the past 6 months, I've been documenting what's been happening around Bay Lake in a series that I've called The Lakeshore Effect. It started with a simple question. What is Disney building over there? What we found wasn't just a construction update. It was a deeper story about the soul of Fort Wilderness and what Disney is slowly replacing it with. Because River Country is now gone. It was demolished in 2019, and now Lakeshore Lodge is rising in its place. And Discovery Island sits there, abandoned in the water, watching all of it. So here's what I've come to understand. Discovery Island isn't just a closed attraction. It's the clearest window we have into the same forces that are reshaping Fort Wilderness today. Because the same logic that closed Discovery Island is the same calculation. It's the logic behind everything changing around Bay Lake right now. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So let's go back to the beginning, because this island story started long before Disney ever arrived. From 1900 to 1937, this island was known as Raz Island, named after the family that called it home. But then in 1937, a man named Delamar Nicholson showed up with $800 in his pocket. Now think about this, $800 for a private island in the middle of what would eventually become the most visited theme park destination on Earth. Delamar wasn't just a land buyer, he was a local radio personality. Everyone knew him as Radio Nick. And what Radio Nick did with the island is remarkable. He renamed it to Idle Bay Isle. He moved there with his wife. He grew exotic tropical plants all across the property. He kept a pet crane. Think about what life on the island must have looked like in the 1940s, before Disney, before the highways, before Orlando became what it is. Radio Nick had built a self-contained paradise in the middle of Bay Lake. Isolated, lush, entirely his own. He would live there for 20 years. Eventually, Radio Nick sold the island. It changed hands one more time, renamed to Riles Island, and used as a private hunting retreat. And then in 1965, Disney quietly bought it. At the time, Disney was in the middle of the most secretive land acquisition in American history, purchasing thousands of acres of Central Florida through shell companies, careful not to let anyone discover that it was Walt Disney himself buying the land. This tiny island in the middle of Bay Lake was part of that acquisition. And from the moment that the Disneys laid their eyes on it, they saw exactly what Radio Nick had seen 30 years earlier. A natural paradise, isolated, beautiful, just waiting to be transformed. On April 8th of 1974, 3 years after Walt Disney World already opened its gates, Disney debuted the island to the public. They called it Treasure Island. It was inspired obviously by the classic Disney adventure film, and the concept was completely unlike anything else in Disney World. No rides, no parade routes, no 90-second experience after an hour-long queue. You walked down to the docks at Fort Wilderness, you boarded a boat, you crossed Bay Lake, and when you stepped off onto the island, you stepped into something that felt genuinely wild. Tropical pathways wound through dense, lush vegetation. Exotic birds called from the canopy overhead. Animals you had never seen outside of a zoo appeared around every corner. And at the other end of the island sat one of the most iconic and most forgotten pieces of Disney storytelling, the wreck of the Walrus. A full-scale shipwreck, half submerged, no ride vehicle, no narrator in your ear, and no screen. Just a shipwreck for guests, especially kids, to explore, climb, and imagine. Disney didn't call it immersive storytelling back then, but that's exactly what it was. The island was later renamed to Discovery Island when it was officially recognized as an accredited zoological park, one of only a handful in the United States. And at its peak, the island housed approximately 150 birds and small animals: bald eagles at Eagles Watch, flamingos at Flamingo Lagoon, and 5 Galapagos tortoises at Tortoise Beach. Scarlet ibis at Avian Way, which was at the time the most extensive breeding colonies of scarlet ibis in the entire United States. And then there was another bird, a small, unremarkable looking bird that would become one of the saddest footnotes in the history of the island, the Dusky Seaside Sparrow. In June of 1987, the last known Dusky Seaside Sparrow in captivity drew its final breath on Discovery Island. Disney had been part of a conservation effort to save the species. Right here on the island, in the middle of Bay Lake, a species went extinct. I want you to hold on to that detail because it matters to the larger story. So here's what most people miss about Discovery Island. It wasn't just its own attraction, it was part of a system. In the 1970s, Disney's vision for Fort Wilderness and Bay Lake was fundamentally different from what it is today. Disney wasn't just selling a park, they were selling a vacation kingdom. Fort Wilderness was your base camp. River Country was your swimming hole. Discovery Island was your nature preserve. And Bay Lake was the artery connecting all of this together. Guests weren't expected to sprint between thrill rides and check off attractions. They were meant to boat across Bay Lake in the morning, spend the afternoon exploring Discovery Island, and then go swimming at River Country. And then, later that evening, watch the electrical water pageant from the beach at night. And that was the vacation. And for someone that loves Fort Wilderness for exactly that reason, the slower pace, the outdoors, the sense that you could actually breathe, I understand exactly what they were selling. Because the remnants of that vision are still why we keep coming back. Discovery Island and Fort Wilderness didn't just share a zip code, they shared a soul. And that soul has been disappearing piece by piece. On April 22, 1998, Disney's Animal Kingdom opened for the first time, and from that day forward, Discovery Island's fate was sealed.
Introducing the most adventurous Walt Disney World theme park ever. Disney's Animal Kingdom, the imagination of Disney gone wild.
Everything Discovery Island offered, exotic animals, walking trails, conservation exhibits, nature immersion, Animal Kingdom now offered on a scale that made the island look like a garden path next to a national park. Safaris, gorilla falls, habitats that stretched across hundreds of acres, and Disney, in what I think was a very deliberate signal, named the central hub of their brand new park Discovery Island. They didn't just build a competing attraction, they absorbed the identity of the original island into the new park. The original hub of Animal Kingdom was actually called Safari Village, then Disney renamed it to Discovery Island. It was as if Disney looked at the original island, took its name, took its concept, scaled it 100 times larger, and then left the original to rot. From a pure business standpoint, the math was simple. Why operate an 11.5-acre island requiring its own boats, full-time animal staff, veterinarian care, landscape, and constant maintenance when your brand new flagship park delivered a far richer experience to far more guests per day? The answer was, you don't. And the clock started ticking. But here's the thing. The story that was about to unfold wasn't just about a business decision. It was about what Disney had been quietly hiding on the island for nearly a decade. Disney has never given a single official reason for the closure of Discovery Island. They didn't have a press release. There wasn't an explanation. There was nothing. And when you dig into what really happened behind the scenes in the years leading up to the closure, you start to understand why. So let's go back to 1989. That year, PETA, People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, filed a formal accusation against Walt Disney World over the treatment of animals at Discovery Island. What investigators found was not minor compliance issues. Workers at Discovery Island had been illegally firing rifles at hawks, beating vultures to death with sticks, and deliberately destroying nests and eggs of federally protected bird species. These weren't accidents. These were specific documented acts of cruelty toward protected wildlife. State and federal officials charged Disney with 16 counts of animal cruelty. 16 counts. Now, Disney settled in January of 1990. They paid $95,000 to avoid going to court. They never admitted guilt, and the island continued operating for another 9 years after that settlement. But here's what I want you to sit with. The same company that just 2 years earlier had been trying to save the last Dusky Seaside Sparrow on the island had also employed people who were beating federally protected birds to death with sticks. Now Disney settled, paid the fine, and moved on. But the reputational damage was done. The scrutiny was real, and the operational complexity of running a small zoological attraction in the middle of Bay Lake, with all the animal management challenges that came with it, had just gotten a lot more complicated. And then, less than a decade later, Animal Kingdom opened. With professional conservation programs, advanced veterinarian facilities, trained animal staff, massive habitats, it made everything that had happened on Discovery Island look not just small, but problematic. Disney looked at the island, looked at their new flagship nature park across the resort, and made a decision. No announcement, no farewell event, just a decision. On April 8th, 1999, Discovery Island officially closed to the public. Now I want you to sit with that date for a second. April 8th, 1999. The island opened on April 8th, 1974. Disney closed Discovery Island on the exact 25th anniversary of its opening. Whether that symmetry was intentional, some kind of deliberate poetic choice, or pure coincidence, I honestly don't know. But there's something haunting about a place receiving exactly 25 years to the day before the plug was pulled. No farewell event, no tribute, no acknowledgement from Disney whatsoever. The boats stopped running. Over the following months, the animals were quietly relocated to Animal Kingdom and other zoos. The process wasn't fully complete until July 9th of that year, and then the island was simply left. The same island where the last Dusky Seaside Sparrow had died, the same island where Disney had settled 16 animal cruelty charges, the same island where hundreds of thousands of children had explored the wreck of the Walrus and felt the special magic of being somewhere that felt genuinely wild inside of Walt Disney World. Just left. The building stayed, the wreck of the Walrus stayed, overgrown pathways stayed, and the island became exactly what you see today from the shores of Fort Wilderness, a ghost in plain sight. Disney has never explained it, never addressed the animal cruelty settlement in the context of its closure, never said what, if anything, they planned to do with the island. They simply let it sit for more than 25 years. Nature doesn't wait for announcements. Within just a few years of closing, the vegetation had already begun swallowing the pathways. Cages rusted, buildings cracked and peeled, the dock rotted. And somewhere in the 2000s, a new kind of visitor discovered Discovery Island, urban explorers.
There is the maintenance dock. That's what we're trying to get to. Then we'll be able to get on the island.
Accounts started surfacing online. Photographs, videos, people who made it onto the island, some by kayak, some by boat, discovering what they had found. Abandoned animal enclosures, decaying infrastructure, and according to some of those explorers, Disney background music still playing somewhere on the island, as if the speakers were never switched off. I don't know if that detail is true, but it fits perfectly with what Discovery Island has become. A Disney attraction frozen in time, slowly being consumed by the Florida wilderness. And then came 2020. In April of that year, Walt Disney World completely shut down from COVID-19. A man from Mobile, Alabama, named Richard, made a decision. He crossed Bay Lake. He made it onto the island, and he stayed for multiple days.
Orange County Sheriff's Office, you're being recorded. This is Operator Moore. How may I help you?
Hi, this is Lucy at Walt Disney World Security.
Hi.
Hi, I've got an investigator requesting county assist in response to Discovery Island, which is at the Fort Wilderness, or next to the Fort Wilderness. They have a sighting of a person in an area that is actually out of bounds.
It is dramatic video we first brought you on clickorlando.com. Deputies swarm an abandoned Disney attraction looking for a man illegally camping there during the COVID-19 lockdown. During that Disney World manhunt, the suspected trespasser recorded YouTube videos of himself hiding. News 6 investigator Mike DeForest shows us how it all went down.
Where's the gentleman?
He's still on the island.
Oh, he's still on the island? He's not here?
Orange County deputies are dispatched to Walt Disney World after a camera snapped this photo of a man trespassing in an abandoned theme park. Soon, officers are on a boat headed to Discovery Island, a former zoo on Disney property that closed to the public more than 20 years ago.
He's got to be somewhere here.
With guns drawn, deputies begin searching the decayed buildings on the island, trying to find the trespasser. They have no idea the man they're looking for is Richard McGuire.
My girlfriend said there's no way that you're going to be able to, get on this island.
A YouTube creator from Alabama who would later post online videos of his excursion to Walt Disney World while the resort was closed due to the coronavirus pandemic.
It's not the rain that I'm worried about. It's this boat. I had to buy it down here in Florida.
Using this boat, McGuire says he snuck out to Discovery Island and spent the night by a campfire burning inside one of the abandoned theme park buildings.
Check him here.
As deputies hunted for him and called out for him to surrender, McGuire kept making YouTube videos.
They're talking to me. They're talking to me. The island's surrounded, he said.
By mid-afternoon, more than a dozen deputies had arrived at Discovery Island.
Orange County Sheriff's Office!
As they scoured the old theme park, officers used machetes to chop through thick vegetation while marveling at what remains of the once popular Disney attraction.
Ooh, a Slurpee machine.
Meanwhile, YouTube videos show McGuire covering himself with leaves, apparently trying to hide from the sheriff's helicopter circling overhead.
Disney World ain't playing. Disney World ain't playing.
After more than an hour of inspecting animal cages, crumbling restrooms, and other off-limits areas,
The best game of hide and seek ever.
Dude. So, it's sketchy.
deputies gave up their ground search.
What's up, bro?
But later that night, a man who identified himself as McGuire was spotted returning to shore in a motorized boat.
That's a tropical paradise. I was going to stay out there for about a week.
As he was arrested for trespassing, deputies found McGuire's van and his girlfriend.
And I even told him, I was like, look, if you get in trouble, count me out.
I hear.
I'm not a part of it.
I hear you.
I love him, but not that much.
The McGuire story, it went everywhere. For the urban explorer community, it was a wake-up call.
Authorities in Orlando arrested a man who attempted to spend his quarantine on an island in shut-down Disney World.
After years of urban explorers sneaking onto Discovery Island, Disney finally had enough. Today, the island is heavily monitored with surveillance systems and possibly even hidden wildlife-style cameras, designed to catch anyone attempting to trespass. Richard was caught on one of these hidden cameras and never even realized Disney was watching. And that right there is the point that Disney wanted to make. Because when those Orange County deputies started sweeping that island on foot, by helicopter, and by boat, McGuire said to himself on his own camera, Disney World ain't playing. And he was right. The trespassing charge McGuire faced carries up to a year in jail, but he got a plea deal and a $100 fine and a lifetime ban from Walt Disney World. Discovery Island sits abandoned, frozen in 1999. The overgrowth keeps getting thicker and thicker, buildings keep crumbling, but the cameras are still watching. And if you step 1 foot on that island, Disney has made it very clear. They will find you, they will prosecute you.
All right, Richard, unfortunately, you're going to be placed under arrest for trespassing, okay?
And you will never set foot on any of their parks again. The island isn't just closed, it's protected. But what this story did, more than anything, was remind hundreds of thousands of people that island still exists, that it's sitting right there across Bay Lake, within sight of the campground. That after more than 2 decades of abandonment, Discovery Island remains as one of the most fascinating, unresolved stories in Walt Disney World history. So here's the question that I keep coming back to. What does Discovery Island mean for Fort Wilderness right now? Because here's the pattern I keep seeing. River Country closed in 2001, it demolition in 2019. Discovery Island closed in 1999, is still abandoned and still waiting. The Fort Wilderness RV and tent loops are still here, still beloved, and still vulnerable. And now Lakeshore Lodge is rising on the shoreline where River Country once stood. Each of these chapters is telling the same story. The original Fort Wilderness experience, the vacation kingdom philosophy built around boats, canoeing, fishing, nature, and a slower pace is being replaced. Now it's not all at once, not with a press release, but one piece at a time. And I'm not telling you that Lakeshore Lodge is a villain in this story. This resort might be beautiful, it might bring new energy to a part of the property that's been sitting dormant for decades, but the pattern matters. Because every original Bay Lake experience that disappears takes something with it that cannot be rebuilt. This specific, irreplaceable feeling of a quieter, simpler Walt Disney World. A Walt Disney World designed for people like us. Discovery Island didn't close because guests stopped caring about nature. It closed because Disney decided guests could get a better nature experience somewhere else. And that decision has cost this resort something it can never quantify. So when you stand on the shores at Fort Wilderness and look out across the water at the island sitting abandoned in the middle of Bay Lake, remember what it represents. Not just a closed attraction, a choice, and a warning. Now before I wrap this up, I do want to give you the latest on what's happening over at Lakeshore Lodge, because there are developments happening right now that tie directly into everything I just told you. Lakeshore Lodge construction is moving fast. Now Disney has narrowed the resort's opening window to the summer of 2027. The resort's themes are reportedly inspired by films like Bambi, Brother Bear, The Fox and the Hound, Pocahontas, and The Princess and the Frog. Disney says the resort will celebrate the majesty of nature and its enduring influence on Disney artists. But unlike many classic Disney resorts, this storytelling appears to be much more subtle and more upscale. And that change is already being felt around Bay Lake. The shoes that once covered the famous shoe tree have now been removed, a move that longtime fans did not take very well. For decades, many of those shoes were placed there by retired boat captains as a symbolic "see you real soon." It became a quiet tradition among cast members that likely dates back to the 1970s or 1980s. But with the new upscale restaurant coming to Lakeshore Lodge having a direct line of sight to the shoe tree, Disney apparently decided it was time for the shoes to go. Bay Lake is now officially entering a brand new era. So now the question becomes, which version of Bay Lake do you prefer? The old Bay Lake or the new Bay Lake? Today's video was episode 4 in the Lakeshore Effect series. Now if you've missed episodes 1 through 3, now be sure to check that out today. Now I'm going to be bringing more episodes to add to this series from now until the opening of Lakeshore Lodge in the summer of 2027. There are other stories from the past of Fort Wilderness that I will be sharing between now and then. Now we'll be visiting the fort during Christmas this year, where we will get up close and personal with Lakeshore Lodge and how the fort is or isn't being affected. Now be sure to be subscribed so you don't miss any of these future episodes. And if you've liked today's video, hit the like and also hype this video so we can push this out to more people. And now I want to hand this over to you and want to hear your voice about what's happening at Fort Wilderness. If you have any stories, please share them. I love reading your stories and experiences. I also like to use these videos as a gauge as to what Fort Wilderness fans and natives are feeling. Now thank you for watching. I'm Jamie, my wife is Tanya, our cats are Simon and Annie, and we travel in an RV, reviewing campgrounds, diving into history, and telling stories about interesting travel locations. In the words of the mouse himself, see you real soon.